Hello and welcome to another edition of the Steelers Depot live stream. I am Alex Kozora. Joining me as always is Dave Bryan, SteelersDepot.com. Thanks for being back with us this Monday, the last one before the Steelers have their roster cut downs August 26th. Got a couple preseason games in, have one on the horizon, so plenty to discuss. Dave, how you doing? Thanks for being here.
All right, happy Monday. Next Tuesday is going to come real quick at this point. This week's going to go real quick with a Thursday night preseason game, and yeah, it's going to be a quick and interesting final week of the off season, essentially.
As always, Dave and I here until 8 p.m. Eastern Time answering as many of your Steelers questions as possible. If you guys could like this stream, subscribe to the channel, and of course, check out the site you see on screen, SteelersDepot.com. Would really appreciate that. If you want a guarantee of your question being asked and answered by Dave and myself, you can send us a super chat. No obligation to do so, but we appreciate them all the same. So, Dave, let's dive on in with our first question from our friend John Pennington, referring to one of today's roster moves. He says, "Hello, Dave and Alex. What do you guys think the reason is for Rock Taylor being released now instead of after this week's game and at the cutdown? Alex, was he that bad at training camp?" I was surprised to see that. A flurry of roster moves today. Might have just been a numbers game thing for Rock Taylor, but thought he played well against Tampa Bay. Maybe something happened with special teams and a lack of value there, or something behind the scenes we don't know about. But yeah, that was surprising.
Yeah, you have. It was probably not the name that I expected. I still didn't think he was obviously going to make the 53-man roster. But when you look at the long list of those backup wide receivers, you know, the guys like Keyshawn Williams and who else is down the list there? Lance McCutcheon. You know, you could probably make arguments that one of those guys could have probably been out the door. I don't know. Well, it's unlikely, but we have seen in the past. Now, I don't know, since they've kind of moved this to the kind of the delayed, you know, that extra week off and all like that. But I know in the past we've seen kind of practice squad or guys get cut a little bit early only to circle back, you know, eventually to the practice squad. But this far out right now, I mean, you know, and since, you know, you've kind of had the calendar changing and all like that, it obviously doesn't bode very well for him at this point. I tell you what will be interesting is you know, around the league now, teams are scrambling to get healthy players to play in this final preseason game, right? It'd be interesting to see if maybe a team claims Rock Taylor just to get a look at him and fill a spot, you know, in the final game of the preseason for some teams. So not the guy that I would have. Look, we did talk this morning that could potentially a wide receiver be out the door because of the long lines, but I don't think Rock Taylor would have been my first choice there.
Same here. So surprised. We'll see what ultimately happens. You guys see on screen the flurry of roster moves. Pittsburgh signing 3 players in cornerback Cam Alexander, long snapper Jake McQuaid. That'll help replace Christian Kuntz. And by the way, I think Kuntz said he could come back. At least Mike Tomlin called it short term, so maybe Kuntz will be good for week 1. And then offensive tackle Julian Pearl. It was Devin Harper, Rock Taylor, and Braden Fehoko coming off the roster. It does say released by the team, but you noted, Dave, that was actually a waived injured on Devin Harper, so he'll revert to IR.
Right. Devin Harper was had the waived injured classification. I looked just to make sure to see if maybe Rock Taylor had one as well too, but Rock Taylor was waived outright. Harper waived as injured, and he should pass through waivers tomorrow and then revert back to IR, and then we'll see if he gets an injury settlement. And with Braden Fehoko, because he's his accrued season, that qualifies as basically they qualified that terminated contract.
Right, so not subject to waivers there for Braden Fehoko. Mike Adesso says, with Calvin Austin III being out a while in week 1 in question, doesn't it seem a little odd they've only had Williams handling punts? Is he really going to be the punt returner if Calvin Austin is out? That is Keyshawn Williams Mike is referring to. Yeah, it is a little interesting. No one else has gotten any work because they've had guys back in the return lines, but they've had some injuries there. Dante Kent probably would have gotten a look had he not been hurt. You know, Scotty Miller can do it, so they've already seen what they need to see out of him, I'm sure, just based on his resume. I think Austin's going to be back by week 1. We saw clips of him catching punts and dressed today, going through some, relatively light rehab work. But if you're at that stage 3 weeks out before the season begins, I think your odds of coming back week 1 are going to be pretty strong.
Yeah, he wouldn't guarantee. I think in so many words, he was tried to ask you, "Are you for sure going to be back in week 1?" I'm just doing what the medical team, the timeline and all like that. But A, it's good to get an update on him. B, it's good that he's out there at least doing something and fielding punts, along with doing work on the side. So I'm gonna keep my fingers crossed that he's going to be ready to go by week 1, and he would be the punt returner.
Right. I know that he didn't declare, as you said, that he'd be ready for week 1, but he didn't. He just said, I'm following
Right.
advice of, he gave a very player speak answer. And just based on my experience, whenever guys get back to this point of rehab and getting some activity in practice, they're going to get back within a week or 2 at most. So I think it'll be good for week 1. But if not, I think Scotty Miller's a guy they could turn to if they needed to for the Jets game. Let's see, what else do we have here? Jeremy Nelson says, how do you guys see the Howard versus Robinson situation playing out? I've seen a lot of comments calling for Howard to be cut. I just can't see them doing that. I think he means the Skylar Thompson situation between him and Will Howard. I assume that's what you're referring to, Jeremy. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting talking point these next couple of days. Will Howard's not going to get cut. He's going to be on this roster in a capacity. The question to me is, will that be on IR or on the 53 to begin the season?
Yeah, I can't, and the only way I can't see him on the active 53 is if he is designated to return. But even then, look, you getting down to crunch time. Going to be interesting to see if they have 2 bodies that they. Or more than 2 bodies that they can send to IR early, and if not, then they would, they would have to carry if they intended on getting Will Howard to IR after the initial 53 set. Then one would figure that you're carrying 4 quarterbacks for those couple of days in between the week 1 game, and that just eats up another roster spot that way. Look, I understand where some of this is coming from. I mean, obviously Skylar Thompson has played decent during preseason so far, and he should get another look on Thursday against the Panthers. But I think what the high side, what the ceiling is on a guy like him right now. And obviously you would think that the team would want, assuming Will Howard's healthy enough to start the season, you'd like him to probably be your number 3 so he can sit and watch and learn as the emergency quarterback.
He could do that on IR, though. He can't practice, I know, but there's still a similar watching and learning component, whether he's on IR or on the 53.
Yeah, but I mean, once again, I'm expecting him to be healthy enough where, he won't go that route.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. It'll be that cut down date's kind of right on the timeline of the initial recovery that was projected for him, at least according to media reports. So I want to talk about what happens to Skylar Thompson more in a second. We have a generous $5 super chat from Justin Gall, who says, did we see enough run blocking from our starters to make a fair evaluation? Pass pro looks solid, a lot of long throws across the middle. Yeah, I think it's a good point Dave and I talked about today. They have not run the ball a lot behind the starting offensive line.
Yeah, just five offensive running plays, and I think he's talking about maybe pass protection as well too. I mean, you haven't really got a lot of time overall with that group, and obviously not with Aaron Rodgers under center as well too. I mean, you have to take each play for what it is. I mean, I think as a whole the group has done good, but obviously Isaac Seumalo is not part of that 5, so it's hard at this point right now with and look, any preseason as a whole to make sweeping evaluations. But I mean, you did note, that the run game throughout training camp wasn't all that exciting overall. So this team's going to have this offense is going to have a narrative against them of, regardless of what happens in this preseason finale, of they're going to have to prove they can run the ball first and foremost, because there's no really tangible evidence other than them putting the pedigree, having those pedigree picks and all, and thinking that some of these guys are going to take the second year step. And obviously second year for Arthur Smith, you can assume all you want, but we gotta actually see that transpire out on the field. I will be interested to see how much that offensive line plays this week. I imagine that if they do play, it's probably going to be another 11 or 12 snaps, something like that. And if they do, I would kind of like to see the focus on being running the football.
Agreed. After a pass-heavy first two games, I think going back to the ground game, even knowing Carolina's going to play their backups just to get extra reps before week one, especially with Caleb Johnson back there, I think would do the team some good. But we'll see. I think Arthur Smith talked a little bit about maybe the plan could have been to run more, but the offense got off to a pretty poor start against Tampa Bay, threw a pick on the second play of the game. I think the next series was a 3-and-out, and the starters were getting ready to go from there. So the more that you can have extended drives, the more variety you can have as an offense, and I know that can dictate to a degree, how things look and how much work you get in. I want to just remind you guys to like the stream, subscribe to the channel, check out the site on screen, SteelersDepot.com. Got a busy couple days coming up with the final preseason game, roster cutdowns, and everything that comes along with shaping this week one roster. I want to thank Marjorie Geyer for being here. We got Mark Cunningham, we got Jar Devil, we got Pittsburgh Toddy, Molin Labe, Mark Miller, Steelers Love, Byron Nelson, and a whole lot more. Teddy Belcher here. David, our friend David, is in here, and as is MJ Irish. Try to get to your questions, as many as possible, until 8 p.m. Mike Adesso saying Skylar Thompson. And speaking of that, kind of going back to our conversation, Mike says was a preseason All-Star in Miami for a few years. Fans and media bought in, then he played in real games and was trash. Finns finally cut him. Now Yins are falling for it, and it's annoying. Yeah, you don't want to make too much out of it, but it's been a nice camp for Skylar Thompson, and it's not unreasonable to talk about could he be a number 3 quarterback. I think he will be somewhere in the NFL. So what happens to him? Do you trade him? Do you just cut him? Try to get him to practice squad? Do you IR Howard and then make Thompson number 3 to open up the year? What's the plan?
I think ideally he goes out and he has another good game against Carolina and one of these other. Look, there's teams all around the NFL that are probably going to need an upgrade at number 2 or even at number 3. And there's more than one too. So can you flip him for a 7th? Can you flip him for a 6th for a 7th or something along those lines? That's my hope, at least. That's kind of what I won't be shocked if that happens. I'll tell you that. And look, if you want any kind of rooting interest in what could end up being a lousy, wet preseason game Thursday night, you root for Skylar Thompson, go out there and ball again.
Yeah, I'm with you. Okay, what would you rather do? Try to flip Thompson for some sort of late pick or late pick swap, or make him the number 3 and IR Howard to begin the season?
I'd flip him for whatever I can get for him.
I'm leaning towards I'd rather have Thompson open up as a number 3, because what happens, God forbid, knock on wood, week 1, Rodgers gets dinged, Mason Rudolph's your starter, that's fine, but now Howard's one snap away, and this guy hasn't taken a snap inside a stadium. That concerns me. So I think I'd rather
if you get that far, probably.
I know, but from a team standpoint,
yeah.
I mean,
I'd try to flip him.
Yeah, I mean, okay. Would you rather cut Thompson if you can't flip him, or IR Howard and make Thompson number 3 to open up the season?
Say again?
If you couldn't trade him, if there was no trade partner, would you rather cut Thompson outright and try to sneak him to the practice squad, or IR Howard and make Thompson the number 3?
I mean, if Howard legitimately has to go onto IR, then he has to go to IR. It's
probably one of those borderline things where you could justify
because there's
IR
a split.
or not.
There is going to be a split salary involved with a 6th-round draft pick like that. I can't imagine he negotiated his.
Sure.
He was able to negotiate his deal without there being a split in there as a 6th-round draft pick.
This happened to Logan Lee last year.
Yeah, but I mean, he had a legitimate calf injury. It sounds like.
Well, he admitted the injury was not that severe. He kind of admitted they sort of stashed him on IR for the season.
Okay, I mean it's not unheard of, but
yeah, I just want. I mean, this last game could dictate things. If Thompson has a great game, then make change and shift the conversation enough to change the outcome. It'll be one of those interesting questions. I think when you make these rosters we're doing, Dave, it's less about who's worthy of making the 53. I think that's kind of feels pretty settled. But about the injury and the impact of that, and some of the uncertainty about Howard and Calvin Anderson and guys like that, Dante Kent, and how they're going to fit into everything as this roster gets put together.
It's all about the paperwork.
Yeah, it's really a lot of the minutia right now, and that's our specialty, at least.
All right.
Molin Labe, and I'm probably saying that wrong, I apologize, but he says, no way Robert Woods makes the 53, right? I don't want to say in those absolute terms, but it's looking pretty unlikely for Bobby Trees.
Yeah, boy, it's not. Boy, and I saw he had that. He gave a good interview today. All things considered, running with the number 3 unit like he's been running and all like that. But uh, yeah, never, never is a very tough word, especially when you got Skoranek banged up right now. And I mean, you still got 3 weeks to go, and it's never good when you got a veteran like that running that late in a preseason. It usually doesn't end well. But stranger things have happened, so stay tuned.
If there was a 6 receiver to be kept, and we know the 5 in front, if there was a number 6 and you had to put money on who that was, who would you put money on?
Let's see. Obviously, DK, Calvin, Roman, Skoranek. Feels like Scotty Miller on there. I don't know. Is it going to be Gabe Davis?
Yeah, I guess I should. Yeah, Gabe Davis is coming to town. That signing seems pretty close to inevitable. So maybe I asked that poorly. If hypothetically Gabe Davis doesn't sign, then who is that number 6? If I told you there guarantee was a number 6 receiver.
I don't know. Feel like maybe Brandon Johnson's made a good case.
Yeah, Brandon Johnson's got some NFL experience. So you would probably look at him before you would look at Robert Woods.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, that's fair. I would tend to agree. Now we'll see what happens. They got a couple receivers there on the back end of the roster, and Hurlman, Johnson, Keyshawn Williams. We'll see who all gets sorted out on the practice squad. Got a $5 super chat from Rob Williams, who says, what is the overall review of Jaylen Warren's camp this year? Really curious how his burst was and how he will look as running back 1 this year. I would say it was a pretty average to maybe underwhelming training camp. As we talked about earlier, the running lanes really weren't there. Thought he struggled in backs on backers more than usual, but he is who he is. I think we have a good understanding of his strengths and weaknesses, his skill set overall, how that looks as that starting running back in that role. It remains to be seen because he hasn't had to do it before, and training camp's not a great setting to do that. They gave a lot of attention and work, rightfully so, to Caleb Johnson. So it was just an okay camp for Warren. He's healthy. They've obviously held him out of the first 2 preseason games, so not gotten any action there, but Warren not working kind of speaks to him being the clear number 1 to start the season. All right, thank you for the super chat, Rob. Back to the other questions here. Let me scroll back up. Mark Miller says, hello, gentlemen. With Carolina sitting their 1, Steelers would not gain much playing their 1s. In his opinion, what effect, if any, does Carolina's decision to set starters have on Tomlin's decision? Probably not much for this 3rd game. It's just about getting good work in for yourself. So I think what Carolina does won't have a big impact on Pittsburgh's plans.
Yeah, you want to see your guys in certain situations that you deem still having to put some stuff down on tape. So, look, I said earlier today, I wouldn't roll Darnell out there. I'd probably roll the offensive line out there for hopefully you get like a 12-play drive out of the offense against some of those backups there, and run the football quite a few more times behind that unit and all like that. But I think once again you're going to see 20 to 25 people on the Steelers side not play in this game.
Yeah, that sounds right. We'll hear official word from Tomlin in his kind of formal presser to the media. Is there any chance? I shouldn't say there's always a chance, but what are the odds they do play some starters? They kind of go in the other direction, or do you think Tomlin's just sitting the starters start to finish?
Yeah, I mean, I'd be surprised if you see, some of these guys that he hadn't played so far, I'd be surprised if you see them.
That 3rd preseason game has been used as a tune-up more often, but yeah, I'm not getting a great sense we're going to see, don't expect Aaron Rodgers, and if you're not seeing Rodgers, you're probably not going to see DK and the like. So I think maybe some other, maybe a Deshaun Elliott plays in this game, but I don't think you're going to see Jalen Ramsey or Darius Slay. Maybe a Porter plays. You might see some younger guys, not some of the old heads though, if they go in that direction.
Okay.
Let's see, what else do we have here? And then Mark was asking about the hurricane. Could that impact the game? Do teams ever cancel or delay games in the preseason? We are not the Weather Channel. The Hurricane Aaron is not projected to make landfall in North Carolina. It might affect the surf and the tide out there. So there shouldn't be an impact in terms of hurricane conditions. Do teams cancel or delay preseason games? I imagine that's happened. I know when that Lions player got hurt mid-game They stopped the rest of the game, rightfully so. Has weather impacted the preseason before? It probably has, but I can't think of anything right now.
What's the weather look like for Thursday in Charlotte? Looks like partly cloudy on Thursday. Doesn't look like looks like 24% chance of rain right now.
Yeah, that hurricane fortunately is staying off the coast and I think going back out to sea, so should be okay there. Pittsburgh certainly had their hurricanes before. Ben's first start game delayed and moved because of Hurricane Janine, so that's not new to Pittsburgh, but should not be a factor in this game.
That was my best Jim Cantori for you.
Love Jim Cantori. There you go. All right, next question. Let me find it again. Almost 100 people here in the chat, so appreciate that. If you guys could like the stream, would really appreciate it. Let's see. We had the Mark question about the hurricane. Steelers love.
We got a lot of Gabe Davis, a couple of Gabe Davis questions in here. Look, as Adam Schefter reported, he's supposed to come in, I guess, tonight and then visit tomorrow with this team. And this is his second trip, obviously coming off the injury from last year. I mean, to make a second trip in, that it feels like there's obviously a little bit of smoke there. If they sign him due to the guaranteed money that Jacksonville's still paying and all, I would imagine this is going to be a very cheap, if not a minimum value contract for him. And as far as his fit in the offense, I think what this allows you to do is to run your number two by committee by one more player, if you will. Gives you the opportunity to Roman Wilson, Calvin Austin, Gabe Davis, maybe, occasionally Scotty Miller in some situations, assuming he makes a roster there. I would not flat out think that the Steelers are thinking that Gabe Davis is going to be like that quote unquote number two. I mean, first and foremost, he's going to have to catch a moving train and all like that. One of the things that he's hung his hat on is the deep ball and he's a physical player as well too. He can help you a little bit, I think, in the blocking department there. But this is probably not a guy that's going to come in and play 50 snaps a game on offense. I think this gives you another threat, especially one that can go deep and gain a little respect that way there. So, I mean, if they do sign him, once again, I wouldn't imagine that it's going to be a very expensive contract at all. And then I think it's dangerous to call him a quote unquote the team's number two. And I think you'd probably agree with that, wouldn't you, Alex?
I would. It'll be a rotation of some sort. They'll get him in. They're signing him in part because this should be, as you indicated, a true minimum contract. This is Russell Wilson 2.0 because Jackson was on the hook for the contract, so you're going to pay him the minimum. Jackson will pay the rest. There's no incentive for Pittsburgh to pay anything beyond what they, are obligated to do minimum-wise. So you get him in with Calvin Austin. Yeah, Calvin Austin not been hurt and had a really good summer with Roman Wilson ascending. Then maybe you don't make a move there, but with Austin beat up and Pittsburgh wants playmakers. They want team speed. They've really focused on that at receiver the last 2 seasons. I think you're just looking for that as much as you can and at a really cheap price.
Right. I mean, does it move the needle some? A little bit, but it's not obviously not because he's not a quote unquote number two. The needle's only going to move so far, but it does give you an option that can stretch the field. I mean, this guy a couple of years ago was, what did I put out there? 6th or 7th in the NFL in go fly routes and all like that. I mean, this is a guy that obviously, and look, either he can run or he can't, right? When they bring him in. So, I mean, they might bring him in and put him out there and might not be happy where he is in the development either. So, there's always that chance.
Yeah, he's been recovering from that PCL and knee injury last year. He's been posting on Instagram a lot the last month or so, him getting back on the field. So there is still a medical check, and that's really what he was brought in for the first time, was kind of a touch base as he did kind of a tour around the NFL, the Saints, and I think the Giants and the 49ers. But if he's looking good health-wise, they probably sign him, get him in, and start getting him ready. You're right, it doesn't move the needle. Does it take Pittsburgh out of the trade market at cutdowns, though, to add another receiver like a Romeo Doubs or something like that?
Oh man, if you can upgrade, you should be looking around for a quote unquote, someone that can maybe handle more of that number two role.
If they sign Davis, though, even though it is at the minimum, it's hard to see them then turn around 2 days later and go trade for a receiver. So I think, by the deadline, could that change? Sure, depending on how things are going. But I think they won't be looking for another receiver if they do sign Gabe Davis.
Now, then the whole trade deadline may be something else, but we
Yeah.
saw what happened with how they used Mike Williams after he came in last year.
Right. I think at cut downs, you won't get any addition of a Romeo Doubs or an Alec Pierce or somebody like that if Davis does come in. All right, got a $10 super chat from Jason Morgan. Says, hey guys, are you guys worried about the team's strength and conditioning this year with the current injuries? And do you agree with who Tomlin has and hasn't played so far this preseason? I mean, injuries are going to happen around the NFL, right, Dave? And the injuries, knock on wood, have not been that extreme. We feel it because we see it every single day, but that's true of any fan base. I think the new S&C coach that was hired last year has gotten some pretty poor marks from the players per the NFLPA grades, but I don't think the injuries this year are anything to really use against him.
We'd have to go back and obviously look over the years and put it all down in a table and all, but it feels like they've actually fared fairly well overall this summer, and what we just had another, we just talked about Harper. Will he be like the fourth or fifth young player waived, injured that reverts? And then obviously you had Dean Lowry with the knee, and then earlier in the offseason you had Donald Parham Jr. go down with the Achilles there. So, I mean, it feels like I'd have to go back and look like last year. It feels like I was chasing down 4 or 6 guys with injury settlements from IR that were waived right as the season started. So it feels like it's sort of on par with last year at this time as far as that kind of thing goes. And we'll see what happens with Christian Kuntz here and some of these other guys, but it doesn't feel like way off the charts in one direction.
Same. Nothing Pittsburgh can't manage this time of year. And then to the second question about agreeing with Tomlin and who he has and hasn't played, I just think aside from needing to get some more run snaps with the starting offensive line, that'd be my only kind of critique or complaint of the strategy so far.
From a selfish standpoint, I would have liked to seen, series or two with some of those guys on offense, but I'm not losing sleep over it.
Is it detrimental to the team? Some of these guys haven't gotten reps, and assuming they don't play Thursday, they're just going to their first in-stadium action will be against the Jets.
Come back and talk to me after that.
That's how it always is judged.
Come talk to me after the Week 1 game against the Jets.
All right, fair.
Because that will easily be the narrative. If they come out flat. Even if they win, if the offense comes out flat, you're going to hear like, they're rusty. Mike Tomlin should have played them more or played them some and all like that. It's always results based when you get to that kind of thing.
And if you play him when they get hurt, then it's what do you do and why are you playing this guy in a meaningless preseason game? So I understand that. There are a couple questions for you today. Steelers love more of a comment, but you can address it. He says, how did we not sign receiver Isaiah Bond before Cleveland did as soon as his charges were dropped? And then Byron Nelson saying, I'd like to see Nichols make the team. That's referring to the running back Lou Nichols, who's come on strong in preseason action.
Yeah, about the Cleveland wide receiver, I just think that's a road that they didn't want to go down, because of all the legal stuff and all like that. And I tell you what, if they had went after him, they weren't going to guarantee that full contract like Cleveland. So maybe look, for all we know, maybe they did reach out to him, Isaiah Bond. I mean, I kind of doubt it just because of the history, with the recent history of him off the field and all like that. But even if let's say for some reason they did reach out to him, they weren't going to fully guarantee that contract the way Cleveland did.
Right, that's a really good point there. In Pittsburgh, even though the charges were dropped and he's seemingly exonerated, they typically don't sign those guys with any sort of background to that degree, at least not in last 5 years or so. So I just think that's something Cleveland was doing their homework on. It's not just like he gets the charges dropped and you go, oh, should we go sign this guy? That's something Cleveland was doing a lot of research on over the months and waiting to see things play out. And Pittsburgh just probably not going down that road. So I'm okay with that. And then on Lou Nichols, Dave, his odds sticking around.
Yeah, probably not great due to the whole numbers thing here, because you're probably only going to keep the 3 running backs there. Look, he has done nothing but help himself inside the stadium. I mean, you got to see him in training camp, Alex. So for a little while there, maybe you can speak more on that. But I mean, the last, these first 2 preseason games, he has helped himself. It was a nice long run that he had against the Bucks, and man, I think even more impressive than that was that catch over there to the right side on that hospital ball. I mean, that it's easy to make a business decision, I think, on that, but he went all out and caught the ball, took a big pop on top of it there. So I think he's definitely practice squad material at this point for sure.
Only question would be a lack of special teams value and versatility outside of being a running back that could hurt him, or maybe an Evan Hull, and I think a Trey Sermon have an advantage, but Nichols has played well. It's hard to see him not making the 53, or not 50, but the practice squad, I should say. He will not make the 53. It'll be Warren and Johnson and Gainwell, but that'd be the only caveat. Yeah, and camp it was pretty quiet. It was, got signed mid-camp trying to catch that moving train, but he really has come alive inside these stadiums. All right, next question comes from, if I scroll back down
was
here.
he on the roster come Friday Night Lights, or was he after that? Do you remember?
He should have been. He was signed the off day when Cordell Patterson got cut, which was the team's first off day. So, yeah, Lou Nichols was there.
Okay.
Then. Yep.
All right.
Let's see, what else do we have here? David Kapoor, what is the Juan Thornhill evaluation? I think Thornhill's had a really nice camp. Yeah. Maybe not talked about a ton, but he's been around the ball consistently. He picked off Aaron Rodgers twice in 2-minute drills. He's played well in games. Will that carry over exactly 1-to-1 inside stadiums? I still have reservations, but I think it's been a nice summer for Juan Thornhill.
And from what I've seen so far in the limited preseason action, I mean, he's looked fine. Boy, he sure went. A lot of people probably would have stopped on that play the way that play developed in the backfield. Looked like they had him bottled up pretty good. But credit to Thornhill, he didn't, and he comes screaming down to make the tackle on that.
Yeah, he's an energy bringer, a tone setter, an alpha mentality. I think Pittsburgh is looking for those kinds of guys, and so there's going to be some questions about his game, and staying healthy is going to be key. He wasn't healthy in Cleveland, had a nagging calf injury, so we got to check that box throughout the season. But, so far so good on Juan Thornhill.
136 people watching now, it says.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody who showed up tonight.
Thank you.
That's awesome. Thanks for the great questions. Thanks for being here.
Big turnout. Got a video coming up probably for the morning on Roman Wilson breaking down his game against Tampa Bay. A little preview there. MJ Irish says, how many games can we go without Cam before the contract becomes cheaper? I'm not entirely sure what that means in terms of the contract becoming cheaper, but I don't think it's going to get to regular season, hold out, not playing, skipping games anyway.
Yeah, well, what would happen? He just loses game checks,
Right.
And I know there's some talk. I had to go back and see what Mike Florio said about that roster bonus and see if that could be attacked and all. But I mean, if that roster bonus can't be attacked, then he's just losing game checks for based on what 1.3 million, and that's peanuts right there. So I would imagine if he did, and I'm with Alex, I don't think it's going to get to that. I think Cam will be out there week 1, but let's say if he did, then that would get credited back by week to the salary cap if he were to miss any games.
Couple of super chats. I missed the one, so I apologize. But Jay Kula, let's get to his questions now. The first one says, does Woods keep his spot if we sign Davis? No, I think that number, which is already low right now, pre-Davis goes to about 0 if Gabe Davis signs, and even if he doesn't, I think the odds of Woods staying on the 53 are looking lower and lower by the day.
Yeah, at this point, barring some sort of injury or somebody unbeknownst to us having to go to IR or something, it doesn't feel like Woods is going to make it. Here's something that I thought about earlier in the day. Could Scotty Miller be one of these merry-go-round guys?
He could. He's a veteran, so he won't be subject to waivers. That would not be the most shocking thing in the world. Could him, a Max Sharping, who are some of those potential yo-yo guys, a Loudermilk. Those are all candidates if needed.
Yeah, and I think Scotty's got a roster bonus tied to first week 53, I think, a 167.5. So you could, and maybe they put that because normally they give that as the signing bonus, but I think they term that as an actual week 1 53-man roster bonus. So there would not be dead money there, and you could basically just turn him around and still give him the 167.5 and not bonus. Be any dead money there. Whereas I think Max Sharping, his actually was a signing bonus. So if you did waive him, that would become dead. And then obviously you're not going to give him another bonus to sign
Right.
back because he's already. I mean, it all comes out in the wash technically, and I think Chuck Clark is another one. It looks like that's got a week one, uh, 167.5 roster bonus. But I'd be more apt to probably. Chuck Clark could probably still find a home around the NFL. Boy, the Colts just lost that Hunter. Remember Hunter
Yeah, Mueller, I
Worrells?
liked him. He was having a good camp
Yeah.
apparently. He just went down
Yeah,
and put on IR.
he evidently had something happen, and he went to IR, and I think they had sights on him playing a lot of snaps for him. So I'm not so convinced you want to expose Chuck Clark, by cutting him, terminating the contract there. But I did kind of wonder when looking back over things of guys that could kind of be those merry-go-rounds, if maybe Scotty Miller could be one of those guys.
It's a really good point. It's why they pay the big bucks, Dave, because, those are considerations. I mean, the first question is, do you need it? Because you have the 2 slots you can,
Right.
do without having to do the whole go-around. It's why that rule has been put in place, because you were getting so many vets that would get cut and then circle back, and it was just kind of annoying. So that's the question. And we just don't know about the health of this team. What is the status of Will Howard, Calvin Anderson, Dante Kent, Corey Trice Jr., Christian Kuntz? I mean, the list kind of goes on and on. Who knows how that list gets added to come after Thursday's game. So that's going to be the question. But yeah, I mean, that is a possibility for sure.
I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm just trying to think because the paperwork aspect of deciding you're 53, and hopefully we'll learn about a couple more of these injured players over the before now and next Tuesday.
Or
probably
even,
won't.
Or even if it wasn't an injury, but they keep both punters initially, or they keep Skylar Thompson as a 4th quarterback and kind of take a day or two to sort all that out. That's another way where you may have Miller do the merry-go-round that is not injury related. So the initial 53 often looks pretty funky. They kept 8 D-line on the initial 53 last year. They did 9 receivers a couple years ago because you had a bunch of injuries. So you have to consider that.
Right. And as you mentioned, Scotty Miller wouldn't be subject to waivers. So that's a guy that you could, cut for 24 hours or 48 hours or whatever, and then turn around. And I mean, what's the likelihood that another team gives him a sweeter deal than what the Steelers, are a minimum deal,
Yeah, it's just a wink and nod. Hey, Scotty, we're going to cut you. We're going to sign you back. Just stay by your
You'll still get your 167.5 and
Yeah, exactly. And then
something to think about.
Yeah, it's a really good point. Jake Hula says, who will be the Steelers' backup free safety this season? Man, you just mentioned Chuck Clark should be the backup free safety.
Yep.
Now, obviously, you have Jalen Ramsey will play some safety and Thornhill and all that, but Clark's going to be that veteran reserve. All right, back up to the questions here. Let me find where we left off. And this is from Mike Adesso, says, random but hat tip the Senior Bowl Depot crew that called out Commanders Camp Darling, Jacory, Krosky, Merritt. You saw this coming in February. Man, our crew does a great job identifying those people, or Dr. Mel in particular. But yeah, I think they talked up Krosky Merritt pretty good.
Wasn't he the one that had the eligibility or whatnot?
Mm-hmm. He was at New Mexico, and then he played a game, and then was out for the rest of the season.
Right.
He apparently goes by.
I haven't followed what's going on with him. What's that? Is he killing it with them or what?
Yeah, he's doing a great job in Washington, and Brian Robinson is on the trade block. It sounds like they're going to part ways, and Krosky Merritt I think will get a lot of burn. And yeah, apparently goes by Bill is what he wants to be referred to as, not Jacory. So if you hear Bill Krosky Merritt, that is what he's asking for.
All right, I imagine he'll get a little bit of burn in this game tonight then, huh?
Yeah, I believe it'll be him and Chris Rodriguez getting a lot of the carries. Is the tweet I saw. But yeah, our team does a great job overall. Let's see, what else do we have here? Mark Cunningham, personally, I'm not ready to give up on Trice just yet. What chances does he have to remain a Steeler since you only have so many IR designated return slots? Is it possible he goes on IR for the year? I think he's going to be one of those IR to return guys slots. I think you want to try to keep the window open for him to return, given his talent at cornerback. You may need somebody midseason, but he's not going to make the 53. If he's not healthy, he's not playing.
Man, if he doesn't play in this preseason finale, what was the picture or video of him today? Someone tweeted out.
I didn't even see it.
I thought somebody had something on him.
Was he doing anything?
I don't know, working on the side or something like that. I'll try to find it while you
Yeah, let me know.
keep. What was he? Was it hamstring with him?
It was a hamstring during Friday Night Lights, and he has not practiced since. That was August 1st, I believe, was the night practice. So he has not practiced in 17 days.
DeFabo's got something up here from about 4 hours ago of him still doing some drills on the side. So don't look like he practiced. It looked like he's still doing work on the side. So he's still probably at least a few weeks away.
Was he in uniform?
He's got a yellow top on, jersey top on. Not
Okay.
were they I don't were they in pads today? Do we know?
I don't know, but I doubt it. Pretty light session before the game.
Right.
I mean, he wasn't doing that at training camp. He was doing literally nothing, any sort of rehab work. So if he's doing that, it's a small but early sign of him returning. But he's not gonna play in this Panthers game,
Right.
And then you got cut downs, you got some practices. It still sounds more like IR to return for him. You do get 8 total slots for the season. You'll get 2 initially, so you can use one on him.
Right. I just sent you the video of what he's done today.
Okay, I can't pull it up right now because everything's live, but I trust it, and that's at least a small encouraging step to get back. But I think that's probably a guy that makes a lot of sense because keep him on the 53. Is he ready week 1? You're cutting somebody. I guess it's not impossible depending on where he's at health wise. You got some time here before cut downs, but I just think IR to return makes the most amount of sense. All right, where are we at here? Has Woods even caught a pass yet? Did Woods catch a pass in the preseason? I think he's caught one in the opener.
I know he's got at least one, doesn't he?
Yeah, MC I saw says yes for 4 yards. So that was in the opener against Jacksonville.
Wasn't that a screen or something? I think
it was 4 yards. It was short. I think play action, maybe a boot or something. Let's see, what else do we have here? Did you guys already talk about Rock Taylor? I can't understand why he's been cut. Now, yeah, that was the first question. Not really sure why Rock got the boot, but it happens.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, where else are we at here? Does Connor Hayward stay on the team? Says Spool the boost. Yes, Hayward will be the number 4 tight end. Like it or not, I know people won't like it, but he's making the team.
Yep, he should.
Any Cam Hayward news? No, nothing new on Cam. And somebody asked, where is the Gabe Davis news? He's coming in tomorrow, Tuesday. So any signing, if one occurs, won't really be announced and known until probably Tuesday afternoon or evening.
Right.
Let's see. Jared Mayak, thanks for the Q&A and all the incredible camp coverage. Thank you, Jared. He says Alex's daily reports are gold. And how about a shout out to the great Tim Rice, who captured some awesome photos. Yeah, Tim does a great job in the hot sun, taking some great photos for us. And so we really appreciate his daily coverage when he was at training camp.
Absolutely. You guys did a great bang-up job once again.
What are your guys' thoughts on who makes the roster as far as the corner position goes? It'll be your top 4 pretty much locked in. Slay, Porter, Ramsey, of course, Brandon Eccles. I think Pierre makes it as a special teamer. Beanie Bishop, not on 100% solid ground. I still think he makes it, Dave, but what are your thoughts on Beanie?
Yeah, I guess the question is who would potentially take that spot, or would you go that one lighter than him? I mean, I know who was it that got talked up a little bit today, the new corner. Yeah, but I mean, has Porter really done enough to take that away from Beanie? And I can't imagine. I mean, it's definitely. Look, in my first roster prediction, I had Beanie off of there, but I think did I have Trice on there? I think.
I can check if you'd like.
Yeah, my very first one, and obviously Trice hasn't. Doesn't look like he's going to make it this year. So to me, it feels like it's either Trice or Bishop, and if Trice isn't healthy enough, then I think Beanie gets that last spot.
There is Dante Kent, and we don't know exactly what his status is. Could he be IR to return? Could he just go straight to IR on cutdowns? The latter feels a little more likely, but without knowing his situation, it's hard to say for sure.
Yeah.
You did have your 6 corners on your initial pre-camp 53, Porter, Ramsey, Slay, Eccles, Trice, and Pierre.
All right, swap out Bishop for Trice there, and I think I did that in my second one.
Yeah, I know Terrell Austin kind of hinted at he's fighting for a spot. Whenever a coordinator says that, though, especially a vet like TA, it sounds more like he's going to make it, but we're just motivating him and challenging him a little bit to keep the young guy his head on a swivel.
Right.
It's kind of how I took those comments.
Don't go to smelling yourself too much just yet.
Yeah, I hear you on that. Steelers painted the locker room and added some signage to the room. A player was quoted as saying this upgrade should move the Steelers facilities up in the player rankings to 32. Yeah, it's is that lipstick on a pig, Dave?
Yeah, I guess so. I saw a little bit of an interview with Broderick Jones and a few other players. If I hadn't been told, I'm not sure I would have noticed it.
Paint It Black is a good. Oh, is that Pearl Jam? What is Paint It Black? Is that by Pearl Jam?
I wasn't a big Pearl Jam fan.
Right,
that's probably going to get me in trouble in this chat, isn't it?
Somebody in the chat can tell us. I was going to say it's a good song. It's not a great methodology for your locker room big upgrade for the players.
I'm still mad grunge killed heavy metal, so
right.
yeah, I'm not a flannel guy.
There you go. Does Harmon remind you guys of Stephon Tuitt? That's from Steelers by the Lake. No, I think my comp to him back in the pre-draft process was Leonard Williams. I certainly see some shades of Cam with him. I don't think he's quite as athletic or as loose-hipped. He's more of a power guy. I mean, he's explosive. There is certainly a finesse part to his game. Tuitt was a little more fluid, a little more agile, though, than Derek Harmon.
Yeah. Those hips that Tuitt had, boy. Man, what would have happened if he would have still been able to play another couple of years?
So many what ifs for this team in recent years, from Shazier to Le'Veon Bell. What if AB didn't go AB? All that kind of stuff. And yeah, Benton honestly reminds me a little more of Tuitt than Harmon does, and Harmon's more like Cam.
Yeah, I tell you, Harmon had to put some good tape down this past week. That was a fun watch.
Mm-hmm. Rolling Stones was Painted Black, chat reminding me. So thank you for the education there. What about, who would you comp YA Black to? I was trying to think about a comp for him. Ramon Foster had said Cam. I don't think he doesn't feel like Cam, though.
No. Geez, he's so big. It's hard to...
Kind of unique for this day and age.
Yeah, and he's definitely not that sloppy like McCullers.
Right.
Know?
He's kind of built like him, but they move. Their game is a lot different.
Yeah, I don't know if I have a good. I hate doing those comps.
You hate comps? Why do you hate comps?
I just because I get so far removed from players and during the draft process, and yeah, I've just never been a big fan of comps.
You know, the one thing I like about YA Black, keep forgetting to mention on the podcast I tweeted about a couple days ago, the no gloves. The no gloves look is such an old school thing for a guy like him. It's kind of endearing. Just reminds me of a dude from like the 60s. Like, reminds me of like Big Daddy Lipscomb, who I want to talk about every chance I get. Just like this big guy that kind of moves unusually for the size and just old school mentality and demeanor. I don't know. I don't have a good comp. Somebody in the chat maybe can offer one. I'd have to kind of research it. I wonder who our comp was. Maybe I can look it up. And cause I didn't write the scouting report on him that went up on the site, but I wonder what our comp was for whoever. I don't even know who wrote the report on him, because yeah, he's kind of an interesting dude.
Who did do the profile on
I'm checking Black? Now. It was Jonathan wrote it, so we'll see what the comp was. I mean, Black he's impressed me. He's the guy that surprised me the most. I did not think he had this level of agility and athleticism and juice and energy. He has done a nice job. It was John Jenkins was the comp that Jonathan had for him. So gave him a 5th round grade and was drafted in the 5th round, but I think he's outplaying that production or that slot. Better Dan McCullers, somebody says. YA's like Kim Hayward and Dan McCullers had a baby. Calais Campbell for Black. That's interesting. I don't know if it's, maybe it feels still a little rich, but I kind of get where you're getting at. Steelers by the Lake there. Reminds me of Haloti Nada. Yeah, I can kind of see that.
A little bit, yeah.
Obviously.
How tall was Nada, though?
Yeah, it's a
Wasn't
good
he
question.
more compact?
He was a bit stouter. When he come out of Oregon State? I don't know, but anyway, interesting thought there. When are the next 53-man roster predictions dropping? Mine's coming out at midnight. And Dave, I assume probably after that, so we'll talk about it on the Wednesday show.
Yeah, soon.
Let's see, what else do we have here? Do you guys think any of the offensive linemen are worth signing back to the practice squad? I mean, some inevitably probably will, but I don't know, it's pretty uninspiring group with a lot of injuries there. What happens to Andres Pete, Dave? 53 practice squad cut entirely?
Yeah, I mean that's one guy that I paid a closer attention to in this second preseason game at guard. I think he's a better guard than he is a tackle. And man, I mean, is he going to put enough down in his third preseason game that if he gets cut, does he wind up on another 53 somewhere? Because of that.
Mm-hmm.
If I were him, I don't know if I'd lock myself into a practice squad. You know.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's looking for O-line help this time of year. If he has some good tape, then Pittsburgh may just keep him if he's got some good tape out there.
They
Can
might
play tackle and guard. So, is it? Are they going to keep 9? Are they going to keep 10? If they keep 10, is it Sharping, who's been healthy and running basically second team center for the majority of the summer and can play guard as well? Is it going to be Pete making a last second push? What's the health of Calvin Anderson? McCullum, I think he's not going to be on IR to start the season. McCullum's going to be good for week 1, so include him on your 53. Anderson is the wild card. His health is up in the air. Dylan Cook. We kind of just put Dylan Cook on our rosters and just assume he's going to make it, but should we assume he's going to make it?
I mean, I think a lot of that depends on Calvin Anderson, right?
Yeah, those are the variables, the unknown unknowns that we're trying to look at from afar.
I mean, who is the best of the rest? Geez. I mean, it might be Pete coming out of this last game, to be honest with you.
And he played.
It very well could be Pete just based on what he did at left guard.
Yeah. Do they need a tackle more than a guard? What do you think is kind of the need depth-wise? I mean, you have Spencer Anderson, who should be an X-Man up at guard, you would think, no matter what this roster looks like. So it feels like tackle's a bit neater if Calvin Anderson's not ready for week 1 or the status is unclear.
Well, after seeing what Pete did at guard, I'd like to see him go back to tackle with a couple more practices and all, because he had just arrived to the team,
2 days before the game.
Before that first preseason game. So hopefully this next one they play him at left tackle.
Yeah, be nice. I know they signed Julian Pearl for some tackle help. I know that'll probably replace Gareth Warren, who I don't expect to play in this game. So we'll see, but I'm with you. I'd rather see Pete at left tackle or any tackle spot, probably left side in this one. But that's a guy maybe making a push there and maybe on my roster for the morning. You guys will have to wait and see. Let's see what else is there. So you think Zach Frazier could have this is they butchered, I think, a little bit there from Kevin, but I think he's trying to say, could Frazier go to guard if his snap inconsistencies and we draft another high round center in the future? Frazier's going to play center. He'll get things cleaned up. It's got to get cleaned up. I don't want to sweep under the rug. They did that with Pouncey a little bit, and they probably shouldn't have, but he's going to be your center.
Yeah, he's going to be your center.
Will Caleb Johnson get running back 1 and Jalen stay in last year's role? Not out of the gate. I think Warren's cleared at running back 1. Johnson's got some work to do to continue gaining the trust of the coaching staff and Aaron Rodgers. There'll be a role he'll play, but maybe not as much as you think out of the gate.
Right, not out of the gate. All right.
You guys think Pitt might keep 6 inside linebackers since only Connor Hayward will cover kicks and punts from the tight end room? No, I mean, typically only one tight end does that. So it's not going to change the equation too much. They're going to keep 5. I think it'll be... I mean, you can talk about Mark Robinson, but I think it'll be Queen and Wilson and Holcomb and Malik Harrison and Mark Robinson as your 5.
Right, I agree. And then 4 outside linebackers.
Yeah, and Bruner to the practice squad. Call him up, elevate him if that's ever needed throughout the season. Fast forwarding to the future, and Steelers do in fact take a quarterback in the 26th draft. Who is your all's ideal quarterback for this team? I am not even close to there yet. It's a good question. We're going to talk about it a whole lot during and certainly after the season, but I just don't have a good answer right now. Maybe you.
I don't either. No, I know Jonathan's doing some series, some summer series on several of these quarterbacks and all. And I got it set to tape all the games of all these big name quarterbacks in this year's class. So I'm not even going to be ready to talk about that until after the season, probably. Get a chance to go back and watch a lot of the tape and all. I mean, I'll obviously be watching a lot of the key games throughout the season of some of these bigger name quarterbacks, but there's just no time to do both, to go deep into the tape.
You kind of alluded to it, but do you think you actually will watch the games a bit differently this year, knowing the quarterback wash will be the main theme of the 26 offseason?
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm going to pay a lot more attention to the college quarterback situation. Absolutely, I will.
Same.
Yeah, on a week-to-week basis. But I mean, I'm not going to be clamoring to get into the all 22 on those guys until after the season.
You say that now, but we have an addiction.
Yeah.
We'll
and the good thing is about YouTube TV and you recording these things is you can generally power through those things fairly quick.
Yeah. No, hashtag not a sponsor, even though we are on YouTube.
Right.
Mike Adesso, 51 minutes, and no long snapper talk. Alex, what's going on? We might have mentioned Jake McQuaid and Christian Kuntz's injury today, but yeah, that's throwing. Specialist could be a curveball. What's going to happen to a long snapper? What's going to happen to a punter? Usually it's okay. You got your kicker, your snapper, your punter. That's all kind of chalk, but this could be the fly in the ointment, Dave.
Boy, just from waking up this morning until today, it feels like the news has shifted like 3 different times, right? You come out of the game the other day, and Mike Tomlin made it sound like it's not overly serious, and then you get to the Mark Cabali report by the time we were recording the podcast, and it made it sound like he's going to be sidelined for half a season, and then you get to after practice, and it sounds like he's going to be good to go for week 1, and Mike Tomlin calling it more short-term than long-term. So I don't know. Obviously the hope is that he's ready to go by week 1. And I think that's kind of now within 12 hours, however long it's been, that's kind of the census right now.
He's got a podcast, Christian Kuntz does, and so if he's recording an episode, I don't know how the short week may impact that, but we'll hear from him at some point, and he'll get to weigh in himself on his situation. Fernando Mendoza, he's a Steeler, says Mike. That is the Indiana quarterback, right? That transferred from Cal. I think he's got a little bit of buzz. We wrote about him recently, so that might be one of those sleeper names to watch for in that Kurt Cignetti high-powered Hoosiers offense.
All right.
Emery Underwood, Alex, do you think we are going to regret letting James Daniels walk after last season? He was our best lineman before he got hurt. No, I think Mason McCormick's done a nice job at right guard, coming off the Achilles, even though it wasn't a huge contract Daniels got. I like James Daniels, but I don't see regret on that horizon.
Yeah, you weren't going to pay him that kind of, and I know he didn't get the farm, but they weren't going to pay that kind of money for him this year coming off the Achilles.
Right. John Pennington. So who do you guys think the practice squad will look like? I'll have my roster that will include a 17-man practice squad in the morning, but some of the names we mentioned, Lou Nichols, some of the wide receivers, Hurlman, Keyshawn Williams, maybe some of the DBs, Deshaun Jameson, Carson Bruner. We'll see what happens to Dante Kent, his status. Those will be the guys that'll make it up.
And inevitably, 4, 5, 6 of those guys will come from the outside.
Yep, the pro scouting guys. What position do you think would be most likely to be added? I know that's a hard question to answer, but I'm going to ask it anyway.
From the outside?
Yeah, from the outside. What could they say? We're not good enough internally. Let's go add some outside names.
Offensive line.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. Probably. It's tough to find those guys, but they're going to be out there and try to infuse some new faces because I think they need it. Plus, half these guys are hurt too. Warren's hurt. Williams is hurt. So a lot of these guys just simply may not be healthy enough to be around.
Yep.
Do you think Spencer Anderson can be a long-term solution at starting guard? I do not. Dave, what do you think?
No. I think he's a nice story. I think I think overall he's represented himself okay in this limited preseason time. But I kind of view him more as a backup and a guy maybe you lean on for a couple of games or so,
Yeah, career versatile backup is my thought on Anderson, which is no shame in that for 7th round pick. A lot of guys don't get to this point, but long-term starter, no. And the question will be, how do you replace Isaac Seumalo should he leave this team a free agent after this season? There is no internal replacement right now that I can find.
Yeah, I think you got to, as things set right now, I think you got to look towards the draft in early round because some good guards generally get pushed down into 2nd, 3rd round. Those can be found. I haven't even looked at the class, mind you, but it would make a lot of sense from what we know right now and trying to look into the crystal ball ahead that you can see this team drafting a guard within the first 3 rounds of the draft next year.
Sure, or take one of those tackles that might be slow-footed or lack of size and kick him inside the guard, also an option that teams commonly do at the position. Got a super chat from Nick Gooden who says, to help with Dave's water bill after that Jalen Ramsey interview, appreciate you guys after that cold shower after watching the pivot, Dave.
Boy, my wife has been on me to just take a shower, period.
We'll take it any which way. There weren't any
Uh,
restrictions on like showers in Vegas the way there is in California, like
No, but
conservation, right?
there is the whole water. You better not have your sprinklers going or whatnot. And that's why we don't have a speck of grass. We've got rock. A lot of people obviously have rock yards here, but there's water restrictions as far as your sprinklers and all like that throughout the summertime and all like that for sure. But nothing as far as internal that I know of.
What happens if your sprinklers are on? Do they
I mean,
fine
you
you?
get fined. I mean,
Do you?
there's people that go around. Yeah, they fine you for that. Yeah.
And that's not an HOA thing. That's a municipality kind of
No,
thing.
that's the city and all. Go to YouTube and there's tons of commercials that they run on that stuff as well too.
Really?
That they'll have the Golden Knights players in some and all. Yeah, they run a big commercial campaign on making sure people to adjust their sprinkler water settings out
Wow.
here for
Did
sure.
not know that PSA market was that
Mhm.
hot out there. All right, good to know. Cole C, considering his age, what do you think would be a fair yearly salary for Cam Hayward? We're at the end of the stream here. I don't want to make this thing go 10 minutes. It's a little complicated, obviously, because you can't just we're not doing a new contract with Cam Hayward. So it's kind of about trying to push money ahead or guaranteeing money for next year. I know Dave and I have some maybe disagreements on how that looks, but how would you answer that, Dave?
I think there's two ways to do this, or actually three. One would be to do nothing at all. I'm not convinced that it ends that way. Number two would be to maybe give them half of next year, push maybe around half of next year's roster bonus forward into 2025 as cash, give it to them as a signing bonus, and do it that way. Or the other option is to maybe just fully guarantee his 2026 money. I think a happy settlement for all parties would be the last option there. But there's really, to me, the only three ways to really do this. You either up his cash this year and make it look better on paper by pushing about half of next year's roster bonus forward, and then have the same conversations next year. About what his cash total will be coming off of whatever he does in 2025, assuming he still wants to play one more year, or you just fully guarantee his all of his money next year, and that way he has the security.
Yeah, that's fair. We've outlined it a lot in some of the podcasts. I was thinking about this today, kind of separately but related with Chris Boswell. How is that going to go? Because you've talked about if they can move money from next year, but it's probably not enough to get Boswell where he wants to be. Would you? And I know you said this wouldn't work for Hayward. Could you move that money as much as you can to this year and then fully guarantee next year's base salary too for Boswell?
Yeah, you could, and that might be a happy medium for him. Whatever the difference is between what his salary is next year versus what the minimum paragraph 5 could be is like 2 point something, I think, million. You could move that. Look, I mean, I doubt he wants to do this, but I mean, you could maybe try to route it, just fully guarantee all of his money next year, and then having a conversation with him next year concerning. I'm more apt to think that he's would want more cash in his pocket this year. As opposed to getting something guaranteed, and really Cam might as well too. But there's similar conversations to have about both players. It's just obviously the amount of money difference between the two is obviously hugely different there.
And the thing is, I'm sure the one is watching the other and seeing what happens in that situation before making a move there. But with Boz, you can move that money ahead. But we talked about it's like what, $1.8 million, and does that really finish things off and get that deal done and make him happy for the short term? I don't know.
Yeah, look, I think you have to. The outlier is that Brandon McManus contract and all, because of the kind of deal that he signed and the incentives and all like that. But I mean, if you pulled the max that you could pull ahead from his base salary next year, you're going to be pretty damn close right there as far as top kicker, as far as cash total in 2025 goes.
Yeah, fair enough. We'll see. I was just thinking about that, how they might work that situation out this year. A couple last questions. Can you see Broderick at left guard and Fautanu at left tackle next year? I do. I don't right now. I don't really see. If Broderick doesn't work out at left tackle, then you're just probably talking about replacing him. I'm not sure if he has the core strength to play guard too. So I think it's do or die for Jones at left tackle.
Look, if anybody's going to move from tackle to guard, and I'm not saying this is going to happen, but Fautano would be. I think Fautano would make an ideal guard if he ever had to move. I think he could. I think he could handle that move. But as things sit right now, there's obviously that's way out there kind of talk. I don't think it's going to happen. But there was a lot of talk because of his lack of overall size. Now he makes up for it obviously in the length of the arms and all like that. That's what allows him to play on the outside, at tackle at the NFL level. But if ever you weren't totally satisfied with how he played at tackle, I do think you could move him to guard, and I think he would make a very good guard.
Yeah, I think that's fair. But as you said, he's going to be a tackle, and I think that's where Pittsburgh wants him to be. So I think Pittsburgh's going to stop trying to move around all the decks on the Titanic or all the chairs on the deck of the Titanic and try to keep guys in place and let this group become a unit and hopefully a good one for a long time. All right, Dave, that's going to wrap things up. Appreciate everybody here. A lot of great comments. We appreciate the many super chats as well. So be sure to check out the site, SteelersDepot.com. Like this video, subscribe to the channel. It'll be an archived version of this a little bit later on the site, the channel. Also a video on Roman Wilson and his game against Tampa Bay. That'll go up tomorrow on the site. So, Dave, thank you as always for being here with me.
All right. Thank you for moderating the way you do. Thank you for all the work that you did during training camp and all, and doing the late podcast with me in the afternoon after getting back from practice. Thank you everybody that showed up to this tonight. A good crowd tonight. A lot of great questions tonight. And peace and love, everybody.
Enjoy the game Thursday. We'll have you covered on everything on the other side for roster cutdowns and getting ready for week 1. So thank you guys so much. Thank you for listening, and we'll talk to you soon.